You can lose your audience with poor logic and unsupported claims, but you cannot win them over without emotions. You cannot win your audience over if they don't feel that this is the right thing to do. This is true of all people. You're saying, well, you've never met Dr. Patel. It's true of Dr. Patel. It's true of all people in all professions, from kids to senior citizens, from circus clowns to surgeons. We're all wired the same in this regard. You only have, if all you've got is data to relate, cancel the meeting and send a report. Why are we having a meeting if it's just a transfer of data? In fact, written communication is a better way to transfer data and information. Face-to-face is the best way to transfer emotions that are supported by logic and data. Some of you are still doubting me. If all it took was logic, no one would smoke. It's not a transfer of data, it's a transfer of emotions supported by data. Now, how do we know this is true? Because it's rooted in biology. It's rooted, not psychology, it's rooted in biology. There's an author named Simon Sinek, S-I-N-E-K, Simon Sinek. He wrote a book called Start With Why. You can watch a YouTube video if you don't like to read. All right? Google Simon Sinek, Start With Why. You'll see him give a short version of this. And I'm going to take the information because he has encapsulated it so much better than I've ever seen it encapsulated before to simplify why this occurs and why it's rooted in biology. So if we take your brain and we do a cross-section, right? Very roughly, we end up with a couple of regions of the brain that are of significance for what we're talking about here today. And the outer region is the neocortex, right? The neocortex. And scientists and people call this the evolved brain. Differentiates us. Much of what the differentiation from animals is because of what happens in the neocortex, and animals don't have a neocortex. Its logic is here. Data analysis takes place in the neocortex. Language resides in the neocortex. Processing information all resides in the neocortex. If we then go into the center region of the brain, we have the limbic system, or the limbic brain. And the limbic brain is where emotions reside. It's where language resides. I'm sorry, it has no capacity for language. Language is in the neocortex. There's no capacity for language, which explains why we have trouble putting our feelings into words. That's why we end up saying things like, I know I read the study, but it just doesn't feel right. That we don't have capacity for language in the part of the brain that controls our emotions. That's why we say it doesn't feel right, my gut. Well, it's not your gut, it's your limbic system. I have a hunch. That's your limbic system. This is also where decisions are made. Decisions are made in the part of the brain that controls emotions and has no capacity for language. And what most presenters do is they present to the neocortex and not to the limbic system. So your audience is able to comprehend, process, understand massive amounts of data and then not do anything with it. So we have to speak to the limbic system. We have to speak to the part of the brain that controls decision making and doesn't have a capacity for language. So we have to design our presentations completely different than the average presenter who fails most of the time to achieve the full objective of what they're trying to achieve.